I want to talk about this statement that Russell Westbrook said in an Adrian Wojnarowski interview. Woj asked Russell Westbrook about the potential of him coming off the bench and operating as the sixth man. And he said, "I'm all in on whatever it takes for this team to win. I'm prepared for whatever comes my way." And now look, there's been a lot of talks about Russell Westbrook potentially coming off the bench and that he's going to have to earn his starting role, this, that, and the other. I want to be clear that I really believe Russell Westbrook is going to be the starter. I really do. I think that they at least try him as the starter to begin with. I do think that they operate him in a sixth man manner, but I do think, you start the game with him, you let him, LeBron, and Anthony Davis kind of try to work it out. You give them, 5 to 6 minutes to start the game and, maybe play him a couple moments throughout. But I think for the most part, Russell Westbrook, he very likely plays maybe 10 minutes total throughout the game with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And then the rest of the time, the other, 15 to 20 minutes is just him by himself running with the bench unit and stuff like that. However, if he was to actually accept the role, he says he is, but it's different when you're actually coming on, when the game starts and you're sitting on the bench. But he does need to adjust his game. He does need to figure it out. He is going to a contract year. There is a lot of questions about, can he fit in? And is he, a guy that could potentially be out of the league in a year or two? And we've seen players like Allen Iverson, for example, and Carmelo Anthony, for example, that legitimately were out of the league. And Russell Westbrook, I think, still has a lot in the tank and still has a lot that he could offer to a team, but he has to be willing to change. He has to be willing to adapt and evolve. And many people think he's not going to. Many people think he can't, things like that. They were saying the same stuff about Carmelo. But once you get humbled, a lot changes. And I think Russell Westbrook got a little humbled last year and this year. And I do think he is willing to make some changes. If he's willing to go to that extreme to where he'd come off the bench, then that's great. But I do think Darvin Ham at least gives him a shot to start. But let's go on the assumption that he is willing to come off the bench, and he does. Then I think that would be great because we have some great guard play, and I do think Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverley should be the starters. I think defensively, you would be fantastic. I think offensively, you would be fantastic. And then you have Russell Westbrook and Kendrick Nunn as your next guards up. That, again, you keep the 38% three-point shooter, a guy that can play on the ball, off the ball, stuff like that. Russ gets to run with the bench units. I believe Russell Westbrook could, if not does, win Sixth Man of the Year. If he's running against the bench units, he is still incredible. I still believe he is a starting point guard in the right situation. I just think that the Lakers with LeBron James is not really the right situation for him. But I think if he was on a team like the Knicks or like the Heat, something like that, I do think he would start. And I do think he'd be very good for those teams. Or the Wizards. Wizards are another great example, right? I think he would start, and I think he'd be very good for that team. But it's just the fit for the Lakers. But if he's willing to come off the bench, you could have Dennis Schroeder and you could have Patrick Beverley play the 1 and 2. You got two pests defensively, just pestering all opposing guards from the point that they touch the ball to all the way down the entire length of the court. That would be fantastic to see. Just high energy. You get a guy in Dennis Schroeder who can, shoot the ball better, shoots about 34% from three, 35% from three, can get to the hoop. He just played great for Germany. So there's a lot of hope, a lot of excitement for him. I think it was a very good signing given the price. Not just that, but the last time that Dennis Schroeder played with the Lakers and with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the three of them were actually very good together. They were a plus 15 and a half, roughly, when the three of them shared the court together. So they were very good when the three of them were on the court. They actually did work very well and very effectively. And so if that could happen, and that still translates well now, then we could have a very good starting five. Add in Patrick Beverley, who can shoot the three ball, play some defense. You got LeBron James. You got Anthony Davis. You got who's working with the lethal shooter, might I add. And last time he worked with the lethal shooter was the bubble year. and he was like 35, 36% from three. So you got basically LeBron who's shooting 36% roughly. You'd have Anthony Davis shooting close to that. Dennis Schroeder shoots, 35%. Patrick Beverley has shot 38%. And then you got Thomas Bryant who shoots around league average for a big man. You'd have the shooting, you'd have the defense, you'd have a little bit of everything. The hope is that Russell Westbrook plays defense and kind of puts all his energy into setting screens and playing on the defensive end, which if he does, then great. That would be fantastic because Russell Westbrook does have a nose for the ball. He does have a good feel on defense. He is fast enough and quick enough and just athletic enough to be good defensively. It's just he's never really bought in. And if he does, then cool. If he doesn't, and you got to bring him off the bench, and he is willing to accept that sixth-man role, I think you got to bring Dennis Schroeder up. I think Dennis Schroeder is your next option. I wouldn't be surprised or mind if they did Kendrick Nunn as the two, because I think that he, again, 38% three-point shooter last time he played, a guy that can play on the ball, he can play off the ball, he can get to the hoop, he can create his own shot, finish at the rim, he could do a lot, but I do think he would be great next to Russ because you'd have two guards that can attack, you'd have two guards that can do very similar things, but also Kendrick Nunn that could also do the opposite things, like shoot the three ball and just pretty much shoot from anywhere on the court. I think that would be huge with them. You can make the same argument with Patrick Beverley, but I do think Kendrick Nunn gives you that other ball handler that could, get to the hoop and finish, and then you'd have Russ, stuff like that. But I also think the two spot changes based on matchups. I think if we're playing a team that has a big two guard, then I could see maybe Walker starting, because he got a 6'10" wingspan, stuff like that. I just think it depends on who are we playing tonight, what is the matchup, who matches up best with that. I think, LeBron, AD, Thomas Bryant, and then whether it's Russ or Schroeder, I think those are the four night in and night out that start. And then I think that the two spot alternates based on, who's the matchup today. That would be my guess. But I think that if you could get Schroeder in the starting lineup and they can replicate what they did the last time they played 2 seasons ago, then they were a plus 15. Add in Patrick Beverley, add in a Thomas Bryant. I like this team. I like the chances. I'll take my chances. You could even have closing lineups where Davis plays the 5. You could have LeBron play the 4 if you need to. Have Schroeder, Pat Bev, and then throw in an Austin Reeves or a Walker or whatever. Whatever your best 3-and-D guy standout is in the I think it could be very good. I think this team could have some very real and very talented matchups. But Russell Westbrook, would he really accept that bench role? Because if he is willing to do that, I think that could be a huge game changer. A huge game changer. I don't think that happens. I think that he's, at least in the beginning, I think they at least start him and see what happens. And, if we start, say, 0-5 or something like that, or 1-4 or something like that, then I could see them saying, okay, well, let's try to bring Russ off the bench and see what happens. But, if they start Russ and say we beat Golden State and, let's say we lose to the Clippers, right? Beat Golden State, but we lose to the Clippers, and then we win, the next 2 games, and we're, 3-1. I think they keep Russ, and say 20 games into the season, we're, 13-7 or something like that. I think they keep Russ as the starter. But I think if 20 games into the season we're 11-9 or 10-10 or something like that, then I think that they go, okay, let's bring Russ off the bench and let's try to figure it out. That would be my guess. That's what I think will end up happening. Although, again, I do think Russ doesn't see the floor with LeBron James that much. Definitely nowhere near as much as he did last season. I just think Darvin Ham's going to want to always have a Russ or LeBron on the court at all times. And I do believe if you let Russell Westbrook be Russell Westbrook, he's a guy that could still get you 18 to 20 a night, get you, 7 to 10 assists, 7 to 10 rebounds a night. He's just got to have the time to himself to be Russell Westbrook. I've said this countless times, and I will say it again. You know what Russell Westbrook is. You knew what he is, what he was or whatever, as soon as you traded for him. That was the whole reason you traded for him. A guy that could be high usage, that could take over games, that could, alleviate LeBron, that when LeBron's not in the game or LeBron isn't playing that game, you have a guy in Russell Westbrook who can pick up the slack and be a guy that can win you games. That'll win you more games than you otherwise would have, right? That's the goal. Well, if that is what it is, you never gave him that opportunity last season. And the one game that he didn't have anybody, what was he? He was a 30, 14, and 15 guy that he only had 3 or 4 turnovers that game. So he was really good that game. And they almost won. With just pretty much him doing all the heavy lifting. Now imagine if you could get that every single game. I mean, not the 30, 14, and 15, but what if you get half of that every single game? What if you get 15, 5, and 5 every single game? Because you're allowing Russ to be Russ. We heard it over and over again. We just want Russ to be Russ. We just want Russ to be Russ. But instead of him being Russ, you had him relegated to standing in the corner or just being completely out of place for long periods of time. And then it was okay, here's the ball, go to work. And it's dude, I've been standing here ice cold for the last 20 minutes. What do you mean go to work? It's just, there was a lot to it last year. And Russ, don't get me wrong, was part of the problem, but he wasn't the problem. He had a lot of bad moments. I mean, he was the one missing layups. He was the one turning the ball over, stuff like that. But if he can finish efficiently, look, he shot 43%, which is around his league average, or his career average, I should say. If he can bump that, get me to 45%. Give me 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 45% shooting. Perfect. We got a legit big three. And if he's willing to come off the bench and do that, or if he's willing to come off the bench and if he could come off the bench and give us what he gave us last year at 18, 7, and 7, good luck. Good luck beating this team. I will take my chances with this team. Let's go. Let's get to the playoffs. Because which bench in the entire league is going to be able to slow Russ down if he's playing like that? Nobody. But is he willing to accept that role? Is he willing to change? Is he willing to be that sixth man? That's a real question. That's something that is. I mean, he's saying all the right things, which is good. It's what you want to hear. But just because he's saying it, what is his actions going to show? If he has a game where he comes off the bench, is he going to throw a temper tantrum, or is he going to accept it and embrace it? It's a real question. But anyway, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think Russ embraces it? Do you think he doesn't? Would you love him to be the sixth man? Do you think even if he is the sixth man, it won't help? However you feel, whatever you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the... Quick little shameless plug, everyone. If you enjoy my videos and commentary here on this channel, As It Stands Lakers, then check out the link down in the description below and go subscribe to As It Stands. Believe it or not, As It Stands was the first channel. If it wasn't for that channel, this channel would never have existed. Because of the success of that channel, it led me to want to create this Lakers channel. So do me a huge solid. If you're not subscribed over there, go check that out. Go subscribe over there. I talk all things sports, all teams, things like that, not just the Lakers. So if you just enjoy my commentary and want to hear me talk about other things, or you just, are a fan of other sports and other teams, go check that out. I promise you will not be disappointed. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.